Hi sewing friends, welcome to my sewing room. We're making a tumbler quilt today, an I Spy tumbler quilt using a template just like this. Mine's 3.5 inches. I'm going to be cutting some I Spy fabrics for a child's quilt and then adding some fun colors around it. So let's get started. This is what you need for your tumbler quilt. I'm going to be using 30 I Spy fabrics, just different fun pictures for kids that I fussy cut so that the picture was in the middle of the tumbler. Here's some of my fabrics, and then I'll need some plain fabrics, and I figured I would need a 1/2 yard of each of these 5 different solid colors. To cut the fabrics, let me find a fish in here to center, and it's nice because templates are clear there, so you can kind of look and see what it looks like. And even if I do this, it's fine, but I can angle it a little bit so that I can get more of the fish in there, and just lay it along the raw edge that I had already. This is a scrap left over from something, and I did that. My quilt uses 30 unique pictures, but you could just use one fabric with maybe 5 pictures that repeat. And also I wanted to mention that I have 5 rows with 6 of the I Spy tumbler pieces in them. Let's see. One of my rows of 18 blocks, 18 tumbler blocks, has the tumbler setting this way with the large part on the bottom and the narrow on the top. And there were some pieces that I wanted to cut the opposite way, so there are 6 tumblers in this strip where the larger part of the tumbler is at the top. I kind of like to have the variety there. So you'll be making 5 long strips with your I Spy fabric. You can decide whether the tumblers, which way the tumblers go, and it's 18 across. Then you'll be making some strips like this without the I Spy fabric, and we'll alternate the I Spy fabric row with just the colorful row. So let's get started. I showed you how to cut the I Spy fabric, and again you'll need 30 of those. When you cut your solids, let's start with the red. I like to do 2 together, at least 2 together, no more than 4 you can line up. But this was a strip that was cut 3.5 inches wide, the width of the fabric, and I can just start at one end and cut 2 together, which saves me a little time. And I need to turn it so that I can reach. And this template has a little area in the corner to cut off so that when we piece them it goes together really easy. So there's our first 2. And you already have that angle cut on your fabric, so you just turn the tumbler over and cut the other side, and then cut these little corners off. You should be able to get about 14 tumblers out of each strip, 3.5 inch wide strip. So when you get all of your pieces cut, we'll sit down and sew them together. So we have all of our tumblers cut, and we have all of our colorful fabrics cut. So now we can make our strip sets. This set of tumblers has the larger side on the bottom. And I want to make a strip of 18 across. So this one has 4 extra colors on the right and 3 on the left, but we're not going to worry about which is which. I think I'll just start with one of my I Spy blocks and I'll add a color to it. And since this is got the larger side on the bottom, this has to have the larger side on the top so that they fit together kind of like a puzzle. With a 1/4 inch seam. And then I'll add my next I Spy block. And I'll do that until I have 18 across, and I'll make 5 of these strip sets with the I Spy blocks first. Now that we have our strip sets made with our I Spy fabrics, we're going to make some strip sets with our plain fabrics. And I wanted to mention one more thing to think about is each right side block should be oriented the same direction so that when we are finished, they'll all line up. We're going to be arranging them like this. Let's see if I can get these to stay put. And then once we get everything sewn together, we're going to be trimming right here to get that straight edge. So there'll be 18 in each row, and we'll make about 14 rows. I say about because you may want to choose a different amount of rows. 14 rows will make about a 42-inch quilt in length. So you can decide how many of these to make, but I'm going to make 14 of just the plain rows. And again, I'm going to make 5 rows with the I Spy fabric. So I'm going to sit down at the sewing machine and sew my solid rows together. I have all my strip sets sewn together. I have the I Spy strip sets, I have 5 of these, and I have the solid strip sets, I have 10 of those, and they're each 18 tumblers long. So on the right side, when you make yours, you want to make sure that the right side tumbler are all going the same direction. You don't want to end up with a tumbler that's upside down because we want these to match. This is how we're orienting our quilt. So we're going to start by putting 2 together. And the way that I am joining them is I am centering the small side of the tumbler against the large side of the tumbler. We're not matching seams on this quilt. So I want to pin and just go every few tumblers. Make sure that it's in the middle. It does not have to be exact. We're going to be trimming both sides of this quilt, the right side and the left side, to make a straight edge when we're done. So that will help us out if something is just a ½ inch off or something. All right, I have it pinned. I'm going to sit down at the sewing machine and I'm going to sew those 2 rows together. So these are my first two. I'll add another one, and then I'll put the video on fast forward and we'll sew them all together. The last thing we need to do after sewing all of our tumblers together is to straighten this edge over here. I'll start at the bottom, and I'm going to use my ruler and the seams as my guide. I'll line up the bottom of my ruler right on the bottom of the quilt, and I will align all the ends of the seams with the ruler and just trim that off. All the way to the top. And then you'll do the same thing on the other side, and your quilt will be complete. You'll just need to quilt it and find someone to give it to. Super cute little quilt with some I Spy blocks and lots of color. Thank you for joining me today.